Okay. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2026. This is the first Broadband Hui call for 2026. I'm glad you all could join us. And, we are looking forward to a great year. And we're connecting this to 2025 since this is sort of like part two of what we had on last month's Broadband Hui. So, before we get to that, I wanted to do some quick introductions. My name is Bert Lam. I'm with the Hawaii Broadband Office and co-convene the Broadband Hui with Chrissy. So Chrissy, go ahead and do a quick intro.
Yeah, aloha kako. I'm Christy Kuahine. I'm over in Waianae at the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center, Development Director of Ka'ikeola, our new teaching and learning institute. So if anyone is interested in helping to support our Waianae community in our service area, workforce development, training, education, let me know. I love to collaborate and partner with anyone who is like-minded and has interest.
Yeah, no, great. And let's see, did I put the agenda? Let's see, I'll put the agenda in the chat here. And we typically don't do a whole lot of intros because a lot of times the folks are all regulars. But maybe Danny, are you with the CTNY?
Yes, good afternoon or good day. I'm Danny Peralta. I'm with CTNY, correct? Good to meet you all.
Okay, great. And I think most of the other folks on the call are pretty much regular, so I'll dispense with all the introductions. Let me go ahead and drop it in the chat here. Yeah, and based on what Chrissy said, yeah, we usually have everybody just put in their name and affiliation. And here's the agenda for this week. Now, with that, let's see. Why don't we go ahead and do the. So, Chrissy, you're gonna love my my manao of the day. It's sort of kind of my version of it, but I think you guys will it'll be well received. Okay, so I was thinking about ulu, and it might become obvious why I'm thinking about ulu, but I just spent some time thinking of ulu, and I thought, ulu is pretty common, I guess, yet it's not as common as I would like it to be. I mean, I have a ulu tree growing in my backyard, but it's only like maybe 4 feet tall. It's been that way for probably a couple of years now. So it's sort of slow growing, but it depends on how wet the area is. But ulu is a really great breadfruit is a great food resource. And I was just looking up sort of the symbolism of ulu, and it is a symbol of resilience, perseverance, and security. And I oftentimes think of this as how the Broadband Hui has been. We continue to be resilient and persevere. And if you were to look up ulu, there's a great story about the Hawaiian god Ku, and how Ku sort of sacrificed his body for the betterment of his community, which resulted in the growth of the ulu tree. So you can read about that. But I thought that would be a good sort of manao of the day. So I'm kind of diverging from some of the actual olelo no'eau and picking on some things that I have, sort of a direct experience with, and I thought I'd share that with you all. So anyway, that's the manao of the day. Let's see, where's my. Now, with that, I want to give our friends over at CTNY all the time they need to kind of go through the part that I thought was most interesting, which is the portable network kit. And Monique, I'm glad to see you smiling there because this is your opportunity to share. Now, before I give you the mic, I wanted to just bring it to the attention of a couple people because I did invite folks like Carson on and Mateo, who are also part of, they are very much interested in infrastructure, community broadband networks, as well as the idea of, the way you folks have developed the network tool, the portable network toolkit as a learning toolkit. So I thought that was a really great angle on it. So with that, Monique, why don't you go ahead and introduce your team, and you can jump into the presentation.
Good morning, afternoon, or even afternoon. It would be either one of the two of those for whomever's joining the call. So hello, aloha to all. It's such a great pleasure to return. Happy New Year to everyone. That's also a great thing. And on the call, of course, with me, I am co-director with Community Tech New York, and my partner. I'll let him introduce himself at this time. You met Danny. Danny is our is also our deputy director and on staff with us, but I'll turn it over to Raul.
Hello, my name is Raul Enriquez. I am the co-founder and co-director of Community Tech New York, and I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. And I also want to call out our esteemed colleague, Oscar Comunidad, who's on the call.
Oh,
say hello,
excellent.
Oscar.
Hello, Oscar. Sorry I didn't see you there.
It's perfectly fine. Hello.
But excellent to see everyone here. I don't know who may have been on the call in December with us. So we were not necessarily going to go and start back at the beginning unless you think we should. Otherwise, we can go right into picking up on the slides where we started to talk about, it was right after our history slide. It's only a few. Do you want us to start at the beginning? Are there any new people here, or should we start in the middle?
I think it's fine that you go ahead and start on the portable network kit. Folks that want to learn more specifics about Community Tech New York, they can watch the archive video that we posted.
Fantastic. Well, with that, then Raul, I know you were screen sharing last time. I don't know if you want to redo that
Yes.
again, or thank you. And I will say that means that we could start, Raul, on like slide number 10. It's the one where and you can just go ahead and take that one and then proceed right into the P&K. Slide 10 is our history slide. So go one up. That way that if anybody's not here, they will pick up on that one. One slide up. Right there. And Raul, go ahead. You can go ahead and do that one, if you don't mind.
Oh, well, all of us collectively have been involved in this work since 2009. Definitely Monique. I started in this work in another reality in 2012, easily, teaching GED and computers all over New York City. But I started working in this broadband space with community technology as a practice in 2016, as well as Danny and Monique and I kind of created this organization together, and we've been operating since then, doing what we do, and absolutely loving it. And
Yes.
that's a good segue into our key tool, which is the portable network kits, which is basically a high-powered Wi-Fi network that lives inside of a suitcase or a box or a backpack, however you want to store it. But ideally for us, it would be in some kind of waterproof case that allows for cable glands in and out of the case, so it can be portable and accessible and protected and waterproof. And this is a little schematic of how they would generally work. And the main one in the center is a large battery, a PoE brick to provide power to the router and then to the antenna, and it has a local server inside of it on a Raspberry Pi, which is a small little mini computer, much like the one I have in my hand. You can see my hands. And on it are it's like basic suite of communication applications, if you will. It's a chat room, file sharing, an instance of WordPress, Etherpad, which is like a shared text document, and then the unified controller, which allows you to kind of monitor and define your wireless network. And all the other ones around it that are connected to it through line of sight are basically just a battery and an antenna that mesh to the main kit. You can repeat the whole thing over again with other, each one has its own router and server on it, but then you get into all kinds of more complicated questions of routing and networking and how that all works. But the basic kit can be reconfigured in a bunch of different ways to do a variety of things. And this is like the most basic one for community members to understand how to deploy a kit or a network in their community. And I'll go to the next slide. And so each kit can broadcast a Wi-Fi signal about the size of a football field. Your typical home router is about the size of your apartment or your house. And this is significantly larger and much more powerful and faster. It operates on 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. And you can mesh the kits together. Again, they can be recalculated, reconfigured in multiple ways, but we like to keep it really simple for community members to understand how this stuff works first. And then from there, they can go and investigate other protocols for the networking process. And this is a version of what we call our teaching P&K, which comes in like an art bin case that you can fit inside of a backpack. And again, there's a battery pack in it, PoE brick, an antenna, a router, the Raspberry Pi, and we also provide sometimes a sector antenna to modify your omnidirectional antenna if you want a sector antenna to go out in one direction. So it just gives people options to understand how RF signals work, how servers work, how routers work, how to make your own cables, what kind of power options are available to you. So this kit is designed to get taken apart, put back together again, over and over again, and constantly zeroed out and then reconfigured. And again, it's portable. The battery will last you about maybe 4, maybe 6 hours, which is good enough for like a long session for training in a very remote location. So it's good for that. And these are two of our kits side by side. This is an old design of it. Obviously, the one on the left is the yellow Pelican case, which is waterproofed and ruggedized, if you will, and the one on the right is the training kit. They both have the same functions, same software. One uses a different router than the other, but it kind of, again, it's all the same kind of configurations. And this one is just a robust kit that was built and designed for the radio station up in Kingston, New York. They just wanted something to allow them to expand their already existing network. And so there's no server in here, there's no router. It's just an antenna with a point-to-point link to aim at their tower. They can use it on the fly to kind of space out wherever they want their network to continue into. And a good example of that is, we'll get to that later, I think. There's a slide for that. And this is a stack of the P&Ks that the stewards built for the RISE project in New York City. I believe this is 20 of the 28 ones that they built, plus all the training kits that they built as well. And again, the main purpose of this P&K is a teaching tool. It shows folks all the elements that are typically in a network, and it shows them how they relate to each other, how they work, how to configure them, what their purpose is, where to start. And typically you start with your power source, then you go to your cabling, then you go to your router for your network, then you build your server to allow services to be on your network, and then you provide wireless access through your antennas. So that's like the structuring of how we teach it. And we taught this during the pandemic over Zoom to a group in Avalon Gardens in Los Angeles through a group called Concrete Design Initiative, KDI. And they built, I believe, 2 or 3 of these portable network kits, and we did it over several Zoom sessions. I'll add, it was a bit exhausting, but it worked. So in case you're curious about getting the training, we're happy to do it over Zoom. But these are folks that have never ever done anything like this before. They'd never used power tools. They never dealt with routers or built cables, but they did all of it on their own. And you see in the small picture on the right, they built their kit and they got a little, I believe it was a AT&T or what's called, some kind of mobile modem to provide internet connectivity to the kit. They plugged it into the kit, it created a network in their community space. they all logged on to Zoom, and they called us here in New York, and we had a coast-to-coast conference, basically celebration of them building their own network. So it was a really exciting moment to see folks who had never done networking before build their own network, and then connect to it and call us on Zoom. And we had a really good time. Basically it was a big party. It was dancing and drinking and all kinds of fun, but it was done on Zoom during the pandemic, so it was kind of creepy. Everybody had masks on. It was a bit odd, but it was fun. And then here in New York, we have P&Ks at the Far Rockaway Development Corporation, otherwise known as RDRC. They use it for training folks on basically how to understand how the internet works. Up in the Point, at the Point CDC in the Bronx, they use P&Ks for training. They've adopted them as their training platform, basically, and they have their community-wide mesh network there, open to the public, and they have a team of stewards that manage the network. And again, so this is where we go back to the P&K is a wireless network, even though it was built to be a training model of sorts. People use it as an actual wireless network. So down in rural Tennessee, in Clear Fork, they built two of them. One as a training one as a network for the campus of the community center and the surrounding homes. So they provide Wi-Fi to the entire campus, and I guess there's 3 areas where there's housing around it. And then the other one was just designed built for training folks how to maintain it. And within a year, April, who's the lead person we trained there, on her own, she realized that the post office across the river didn't have internet access. And so on her own, she dug a hole by the post office, put up one of those retractable poles, mounted an antenna on it, and configured it, and shot the signal across the river. And so she provided basically internet connectivity, Wi-Fi to the post office and the surrounding homes there, all on her own. After she learned how to do this, how to build everything, she decided on her own that she was going to do this. And that, to us, is the prime example of what this is for. You teach folks how to build their own networks. They build it with a P&K, and then on their own, they expand it because they know what they need to do next. And that's key for us. Next one is, again, upstate here in New York, Kingston. They use their P&Ks to provide Wi-Fi to the Ulster County's first COVID testing site. And again, they used point-to-point radios. They pointed at the radio tower, which I believe was 10 miles away. And they were able to get a signal and then feed it into the P&K to provide Wi-Fi. And so it was a really, really typical, handy way to use it as a network extender, if you will. And the P&K is also used as an archive, since it has a local server on it. The Clear Fork folks got a grant to build another one, and they use that specifically as an archive. So April would go around to various open markets, festivals, events in the area, all over Tennessee, and she would catalog and take in information from people at these events, songs, recipes, family photographs, knitting patterns, sewing patterns, just like get all kinds of stuff to be stored locally on the server. And then during the day, it's available locally on the network on campus for them. So that's kind of how they use it. And it also helps communities build resiliency, which was the theme of today, I believe. And so a really good example of this is for the Rise New York City project in 2016 to 2019. 5 communities across New York City built these P&Ks, and they built themselves a wireless network. And we all came together on the island, the Governor's Island at Fort J, and we basically got 5 P&Ks and reconfigured them to all talk to each other and become an island-wide mesh network with line of sight, of course. And it was a really interesting day because it was freezing cold. It was super windy and horrible. It was very, very uncomfortable and a terrible place to be on an island in the middle of New York Harbor. So it wasn't an ideal situation. It wasn't a picnic, if you will. It was a drag, which is what resilience is about. It's been able to kind of, in the face of danger, get up and actually do something. And so we built a network. It worked. Everybody got on. We roamed around the island. And it was a really, really good exercise for the stewards to see how far the antennas actually reached, what line of sight really does to the network, and then how to make recommendations and suggestions moving forward for how to build it, how to teach it, and how to maintain a network like this. And also, we built P&Ks with the Detroit Digital Stewards back in 2019. I think we built 12 of them, Monique. Do you remember how many we built? Something like 12, right? Yeah.
And we had 15 actually,
15.
five. It's just that everyone didn't complete all 5 of their builds, but it
Right,
was targeted.
right. Yes, excuse me, I'm drinking water. Yes, it was a really good couple day session. We built a lot of P&Ks. It was just a crazy big mess of a room, but it was fun. And again, the Point CDC up in Hunts Point in the Bronx, they use the Portable Network Kit as their training platform. They teach folks how to, again, build cables, configure routers, understand wireless networking, and how to build local servers and have servers on the network. And we had an event earlier this year. Actually,
Beginning of last year.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not used to it yet. Beginning of last year.
I know.
It was called Emergency Management Planning Day. And we did an exercise we called Don't Panic, Organize, which we showed a bunch of local organizers and environmental justice people how to use a local wireless network to organize and communicate during an emergency. And so everybody had to shut off their data plans for their cell phones, and they could only access the local network on the P&K to exchange information and to exchange plans and to create some kind of action on how to get resources to each other during this event. It was very successful and a lot of fun. And it was about, how many hours was it, Monique? 6 hours, 4 hours? I don't remember.
It was 4
hours.
hours.
It was a four-hour event. It was quite wild.
Yes. It was, hold on, Raul. Let's
yes,
go back
yes.
one slide
I'll
before
go back
we
one
go
slide.
into the,
Yes.
yes, please, thank you. Before we go into the next the next piece of equipment that's relevant to the resilience. I want to pause here for a sec for 2 things. One is, since we have a little more time on this round, allow for some of the questions, because I see a few popping up in the chat, and I would definitely, and thank you, Oscar and Danny, both for jumping in, answering questions and dropping links. And of course, I know Bert dropped you all another one of our great links, and that's the GitHub. So you have that in your invitation to the meeting agenda and with the meeting agenda. So it'll give you back a lot of the history too that we've just been sharing with you. But while you have us in person and face to face, it's the time to take advantage to ask us questions. P&K Drill Day, I'll also just touch on that whole focus towards resilience. We're going to hit a little bit more on that towards the end as we also talk about the space where we learn and educate in. But with that, we'll pause for some of the questions. Whomever dropped one in the chat, I think Oscar answered part of it, but Raul may want to, or answered it, excuse me, but Raul may want to add, see if he wants to add anything. So,
what's the
questions?
question? I can't see the chat.
No, I'm saying
Well, before,
thank you.
Yeah, so before we go to Didi, I wanted to bring Dan Smith's question up to the top, because Raul, I heard you say that one of the kits could be connected to like a MiFi that then enabled internet access or Wi-Fi access to others. And then I think Dan asked a question, what are some of the other options? And Oscar said that, uplink is only supported through a fiber optic connection. So what do you connect the kits to from a backhaul standpoint?
Oh, it would be from any kind of Ethernet connection to the internet or any kind of fiber optic connection, because the router has a fiber optic input and obviously an Ethernet input. And so it could be like, for example, I have one of these portable little modems here, and it has, if I can open it up, it has an Ethernet port on it. So it allows me to plug directly into the router and provide internet access through this little modem. Or if you're in a location that has a point-to-point radio pointed at a distant internet source, you take out that cable and plug it into your router, and then you have internet access from a faraway source. If you have access to local municipal fiber, you run the fiber into the case and into the router, and you have internet access that way. There's ways to kind of convert a wireless signal into a signal that the kit will understand, but your bandwidth drops dramatically to the point where it's like some kind of old AOL connection. But again, in a
Hmm.
pinch, why not? But yeah, there's a little dongle you can plug in, and it converts a wireless signal. But you have to have obviously the credentials to log into that wireless network. Um, but again, we haven't used those for a while, but that is a possibility. If all you have is wireless access to another internet source, you can do that, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Dan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, Starlink or Amazon Leo or,
Yeah,
something like that.
yes. As long as they have an Ethernet output on it, you're able to plug it in. Yes.
I mean, I've seen the Starlink terminal as low as 179,
Mhm.
but of course you got the monthly fee there. But yeah, yeah, you do want the uplink.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I assumed you had it. I was just asking for a little more details.
No, well, actually, the priority for us is to create a wireless local network with a server on it that has information that is available locally. Because when the internet goes out, you want to be able to access information that you've already archived on your server. Well, if your only connection to any kind of network is through Starlink or one of these other wireless networks, when they go out, you lose all access to everything. So our focus is making local networks available to people that will work offline or online. And to teach people the difference between having an internet
Exactly.
connection to a local network that can provide local resources and services to them.
Yes, and educating
Yeah.
community members and residents locally so that there is resilience, there is that replication, there is the opportunity for a community not to go dark, and especially from an emergency preparedness perspective, so that there is still offline intranet communication available in the event of any kind of disaster or emergency situation, whether man-made or whether natural. So it's and teaching people, demystifying the fear that people have about the tech. Our intent is to recruit people who are not degreed in and specializing and focusing in tech, but helping them to create an interest and understanding and being able to own what they do and how they do it. And also that archive opportunity is very essential in a time period where we have had books banned and different types of literature deemed as inappropriate and incorrect. And it's some of the basic literature that we grew up on in high school and college for any of us who went, that those things are maybe not going to be available in the future. So having a tool and resource where we can archive, whether it be art, recipes, conversations, so that we have community history to be able to pull up and rely on. So it's a little bit of a different angle.
Yes. And
Yeah, no, that's great.
also, if I can jump in real quick and then we can move on, is during an emergency, you really do not need to watch a cat video. You really do not need to go call your friend over like 5 states away or another country to talk. You want to be able to talk to people that are local, and you want local connectivity. And so that's why for us it's priority to have a local Wi-Fi network that's able to move around and be configured easily, because you can talk to people in your community to help you in the moment. And yes, eventually you can watch the cat video or go and shop, but the idea is for local emergency stuff. And next question. Or
Yeah, that's great. So
follow-up.
Didi, you had your hand up the longest.
Yes.
Hi, this is Dottie. I'm actually speaking for Dee Dee and Dottie.
Hello?
A bunch of questions.
Okay.
One is how many people can be on the network at one time? What is there a restriction on that? I'll go through my questions, and then how much does it cost? What does line of sight mean? Does it
Okay.
have to, and then you said the battery works for 4 to 6 hours. Is there a way to extend that with solar panels or something or whatever? Can the battery be recharged by solar? Yeah, I guess this is my last question.
So my answer is yes to all of them. The first one is what was the first question? I'm already forgetting.
Work at one time.
How many people on the network at once?
Yes. Okay, so depending on what kind of antenna you use, and these antennas allow up to 150 people at one time to access the network, but the server itself can really only handle maybe 25 to 40 people at a time. Kind of depends on what version of server you use. But if you're using it just for internet access, then again, it's that equation of how much bandwidth you actually have to get on the internet with versus how many users are actually using it and what are they actually using it for. Are they just sending text messages? Are they watching videos? Are they downloading big chunks of data? So it's one of those questions that's hard to really to give a solid answer. But technically, those antennas can handle 150 clients at one time. You know those are the basic specs. And how much does the whole thing cost? I'd say the generic equipment inside the case altogether, it's about $500, maybe 600 depending on where you get it from. But that's for a router, a basic battery pack, a Raspberry Pi server, the antenna, the mesh antenna, and all the cables. I would say that would easily cost about $500. Of course, if you want the case and all the fancy attachments to it, and the solar panel and all that, that's a lot more money. And again, it all depends on what kind of equipment you buy. And then the battery that I mentioned was only in the training kit, which is designed to basically last as long as a class session would typically be. It's a smaller battery, and in the other one, it can last easily 8 hours to more, depending on what size battery you have. And yes, it's designed to kind of easily integrate with the solar panel. And typically, you would top it off all the time with your solar panel, keeping the battery fully charged. Yeah, does that answer your question?
And when you're talking about the length of a class, the length of our classes are usually about 4 hours. When we're doing a training and teaching a P&T build, we also have sessions that are shorter, 2-hour sessions.
Is there a way to restrict people to only texting on this network so you can use it longer?
Yes, you can. There's ways. Again, you have to be fairly savvy with how to configure the router to kind of eliminate certain bandwidth restrictions on certain people, if you will. The other way is on the landing page. You just say, "Hey, this is an emergency network. Please, no cat videos, no YouTube, just basic communications, email and texting only." I mean, it's really up to the person. We don't decide this. It's the community that builds it. They decide how they want to govern their network. So it's really up to them. But we show them different paths of governance that they can take. You can be restrictive across the board, have it be open. But typically, there is somebody in the community that is monitoring the network when they use it. They're the admin, and they can see who's doing what on it. Like, oh, this person's watching a ton of videos. This person's only. We don't see what you're doing. We just know your how much bandwidth you're actually using.
Yeah, it's the essence of community network building. Community is the key word to that because not only do we lead and govern, and as I indicated in the earlier statement about owning what we do and how we do it, the community decides. Who, for instance, let me give a literal example. In building the community network that we built in Detroit, I had a couple of people on the network. We did not tell them what they could do or they could not do. We just ask them as community members to be considerate of others. Know that there are times when the kids get home from school and that there's this window of time. Don't be messing around on the network, like from 2 to 8. Give the kids a chance who are working on whatever kind of assignments they are to do what it is that they need to do. So if you're going to do anything that requires a lot of bandwidth, whether you're downloading videos, uploading videos, which by the way, we also had symmetric speeds to make sure that the content that was being uploaded was just as valuable and important as any content that was being downloaded. But it was easy because you're talking to neighbors, community members, and friends, and they're like, "Oh, no problem. We know that we want to watch this Game of Thrones and continue and watch this long series and we're going to binge watch it." Then they know they're going to start at 9. p.m. and they can go in until 5 or 4 in the morning. And but it's that kind of camaraderie that's also encouraged and inspired in community network building. You know what one another's doing and you support that. And if you see something that's going on because you see a lot of bandwidth being pulled from certain people at a certain time of day, hey, those who were on my network, I was easily able to knock on the door or call them on the phone and say, what's up? What you doing? You're pulling a lot of width, and we just need to know that everything is good and legal, and no, Miss Tate, or they would often call me the internet lady. No, Miss Internet Lady, we're doing something, and then they'd explain, whatever it is that they were working on, and I'd be like, okay, great. Can you do it during this window of time so you don't pull so much away from the network? And I know I see a couple more hands raised. So, and Bert, I
Yeah.
know you have to lead us on this because we have a few more slides. We do want to go over to introduce the next piece of equipment that is also important to the resilience work. And then we'll, wrap and end with our lab. The lab piece is not as extreme that we have to spend time on, but how much time do we have?
Well, we probably have about 15 minutes, I say.
Okay. Okay.
So
Good
so we
going.
want to be a little, be quick, but
Yes.
I do want to give, Chrissy and
The other
Mateo a chance
questions.
to,
Yes.
yeah, Chrissy.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, mahalo for that, Monique. I want to take a few
Okay.
steps back because I love what you said about demystifying the whole network connectivity technology just in general. And I'm all about, for my community, digital inclusion is really a mission and a passion of mine, because what I'm seeing is, just based on my own community surveys, people don't really know the difference. They don't know how they're connected. If I ask, are you cellular? Do you have Wi-Fi at home? And they're like, I don't know. I said,
Yeah.
so I love the training aspect. So my question is, what ages? Because believe it or not, I'm working with Kapuna now just on learning the basics of their cell phone, and they want to know more. Like the Kapuna, so Kapuna in Hawaiian is elders. My elders, like our retired folks, they want to know about AI. They want to know how to talk to
Yes,
AI. They want to know how it
that's
works.
right.
And so they want to learn more about technology. So age for this learning, do you have, and then younger ages, I really would love to get, if we can start at 12 and see if this is something that would get them thinking about more, either whether it's a technology career pathway or STEM in general. But what our youngest, oldest? That's my question,
Excellent. Excellent question. Excellent. And I have to say, I like that word too. Did you say kapuna?
Kupuna, yeah,
Kapuna? Kap-
Kupuna, Kupuna.
N-A.
Now
Okay, I love it.
I think I've reached the Kapuna status. By the way, if it's 55 and over, depending on your definition, but hey, there's perks.
I know that I'm there, and it's fantastic. Where I'll hit on the oldest. Digital stewards is who we refer to those that we have trained. We are all considered digital stewards. Once we've inspired you in this tech and wanting to understand and know how to do and build. So I'm just going to hit on the oldest, and then I'll let Raul talk about the youngest. But the oldest people that we had in our training who learned this information were about 85. And by the time they finished with us, they were 88. So, and they loved it, literally going in the neighborhood and helping to set up networks. Raul, you want to talk about the youngest?
Yes. So the youngest kid that I've trained was my son. He was 12 at the time. And he
Right.
trained a 9-year-old kid how to build Ethernet cables. And
Yes.
so, yeah,
Awesome.
so it basically, because it's hands-on kind of tinkery stuff. And again, with our program, you either build stuff with your hands, or you're the computer nerd that does all the coding and all the programming, or you're the one that's outside talking to people about how to get on the network. So it appeals to everybody. It has something for everybody. So
Yes.
yeah, again, hands-on. You're a community organizer, or you're a technologist nerd. One or the other. Any
Yeah.
Love
more
that. And
questions?
I like to
Yes.
sneak in one more question very quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
for if we
Yes.
think of just training aspect, do the kits, the general kits, is that something that we could reuse for each class, or is the
Oh
expectation
yeah.
that each person leaves with a kit?
Again, it depends on your funding source, but typically, yes. Groups that come visit that we host, they walk away with their own portable network kit to take back to their community. They walk away with a deployable kit in a Pelican case, and then a training kit so they can teach other folks how to do it. But it's really up to you. Whether you have funding to give everybody a PNK, great. More P and Ks are wonderful, but typically a training kit is just designed to get reconfigured every time. It gets zeroed
Wonderful.
out and reused. Yes.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Mahalo.
Great. Hey, Mateo, you got a quick
Mateo?
question?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love this. I love what you guys are doing. And I won't hijack this to pitch what we do, but just to put my bias on the table for asking the question, my company does kind of the cellular version of this. And similar philosophy, different business model. But one thing we've seen on the cellular side is there's sort of two main questions I have for you. One is we were talking about data prioritization. When you're in a disaster context and a new cell tower pops up and you get it back online, almost always it just gets overloaded immediately. And we end up seeing more traffic from people's phones updating in their pocket than we do from people actually utilizing the internet to like communicate with each other. Not to delegitimize, obviously, how important the communication is in that context. But so I'm curious, kind of, on the cellular side, a lot of people already have in their settings, oh yeah, only update my apps and other stuff when I'm on Wi-Fi. So I've got to imagine for you guys being Wi-Fi based, there's probably even more of that, of like people's phones just randomly updating and things like that. So I'm curious, I don't want to, beat a dead horse too much. I know we've already been talking about that, but I'm very curious how you address that. And then the other main one that I wanted to ask is on the cybersecurity side. Unfortunately, in the disaster context, it's a lot easier for people to take, opportunistic hacking approaches to networks. We see that a lot. And then, B, as much as, we love our phones, they are like kindergarteners, virus vectors, like crazy. They're all walking around and half the time you don't even realize it, but you're carrying, a bunch of like viruses on your phone that the second it connects to a network will automatically try to do something. So even people not trying to hack the network still are usually carriers for a lot of stuff that's really dangerous. And so I'm curious, when you're training people on that, how much you also hit on the cybersecurity side, and both in terms of, active hacks, but also just the passive stuff, and that like critical infrastructure can also take down a lot of other things if you're not careful about how it's built. Not to say that I think you guys, don't do that right, but I'm curious on the educational piece, how you get that across to people, because we always struggle on the educational part to figure out how much to prioritize that.
Well, the focus of the actual workshops are to get folks to understand how to build one of these kits and how to use it and how to talk about it to their community. All the things that you brought up are things that come into play after the training. The ongoing relationships we have with these folks and the other people that have built these kind of networks. There's a lot of information shared amongst each other. And basically, we just understand that it's up to each community to decide how they want to protect their network, how secure they want it to be, whether they want it to be open, whether they want password protected, what kind of DNS they have, what kind of firewalls they're going to use. It's really up to them. And so we don't really have time in the workshop to go through all this heavy stuff. That gets figured out later in community, if you will, on our Discord channel. We all discuss these kind of things. Yeah, and so it's something that it'd be almost impossible to pack all that in. We do talk about, yes, security, making sure you're safe, don't give away personal information. It's a can of worms. So it's not ignored. It's just not the focus of the workshops, because the workshop is focused on getting folks to walk out with a functioning network that then they can then manage and govern and build upon. So that's kind of our focus. Yes.
And we don't leave. I love a line Danny always uses to describe us. We don't start work in a community or with individuals and then leave them. We welcome everyone to be a part of our Discord channel, and we offer monthly what we call tech talks, so that we can answer questions that arise after people have left training. The training is focused. And we do different kinds of trainings as well. Although the training is focused on the portable network kit build, we also still spend time with the people in the class to talk about recruitment of others from the community, and we train people to train others. So we also teach some training standards. When we're working with community members, we use popular education. We break down a lot of the information that we're training on, and security is a big part of that when we talk about it. We always talk about that your best protection and the most protection you have is through your password. So even though that may sound simplistic, we spend a lot of time just talking about safety and security in password use, because there's still a ton of people using the same very simple password for everything. So we're breaking some of those habits and norms, and we do come back and have trainings about how you can continue to protect your information. And mostly it's about being careful with what you open and having very secure passwords. So we never sidestep that. And the passwords that they have to keep and retain, even for their network items, we tell them about keeping that secure.
So Monique, we're probably running close to time. So why don't I give you
We can
back
go
the
on to
mic
the
and you guys
finish.
can complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Raul, turn
Right.
it back over to you for next slide,
Okay.
so we can talk about the
And
next
so,
piece of equipment.
yes, so we have since added the long-range radios to our portable network kits. These little radios here that they operate on 915 megahertz in the US, and basically you pair it to your cell phone or your tablet or your laptop, and it becomes like a walkie-textie, if you will. And the range is about 2 miles. And the map you see is all the nodes in New York City now. 3 years ago, there were only maybe a few nodes in the city, but now there's multiple, up to 800 nodes I've counted, and a lot of them aren't even tracked on the map. So, but we provide this as a way for folks that are working in multiple locations to be able to communicate before the network actually gets up and running. You can still text each other off grid, and it's encrypted in private. So that's what we've been doing, and we just got a small grant to again, this is all just details about it, but we just got a small grant to do 2 trainings where we distributed 40 of these radios to community organizers in New York City, 20 of them in Brooklyn, 20 of them in the Bronx. And so these organizers and activists now have this encrypted off-grid texting device they can communicate alongside their wireless networks that they use for just general everyday use. And again, the thing we use is called Don't Panic Organize. It's an outreach tool. And this is the lab that we built at El Puente here in Brooklyn. It used to be an old storage room full of stuff. And that's even the picture on the top left. That's even after we cleaned it up a little bit. It was basically packed full of stuff, books, maps, paper, flags, just stuff. And we cleared it all out to kind of just get to work. But then we converted it into a community tech lab, which is basically the only place in New York City where you can go and learn about wireless networking hands-on. Everybody else teaches you how to use Microsoft Word, how to use a spreadsheet. We show folks how to use antennas, how to configure routers, how to build servers, all that. And so that's been our fun for the past 2 or 3 years. And again, the lab gets used for all kinds of things. It's experimenting with tech. They learn about wireless networking skills, and they make cables, they reset networking equipment, they build and maintain portable network kits. Again, folks that typically don't use technology or know about it, they come there, they can learn about it, and it's been a really great resource for the community.
Pause 1 second, Raul, go back a sec.
Yes.
Called a lab for a reason, because it's a place where people can also go to experiment with tech. And you see that we have a myriad of different people who come in and use it. And these are not generally people who are working in the tech field, just those who want to know more. And as we continue to convert over to being just a completely tech controlled society, we have to make sure that there's education at every level for everyone. And that's the kind of focus that that a community tech lab does. We're trying to teach novice about how these things work and how they can continue to manage them within their lives, especially, as I said, we go to a tech-oriented society. Raul, you can go ahead and continue to the lab is someplace too that we'd like to encourage you guys to think about building these things. We showed you what it came from. And so there are spaces and places that you could think of that so that you can have impact in your local communities. And Christy, I'm sure that's something that's attractive to you because you said you train.
Yes,
So
yes.
you can go ahead, Raul.
And so this is basically a simplified map of all the P&Ks that we've built that have been deployed. Well, no, we didn't build, community members have built, but they're all over the place and they're active and people will use them for all kinds of things, mostly for networking and for emergency preparedness. And so again, if you build, so Bert, once you build your P&K, we'll put you on
Yes.
a map in Hawaii. We'll have to
Yes,
expand that.
I want to be on that map.
Yes,
We want
yes.
you on that map. That is fantastic.
We want Hawaii on this map, so please get
We
on
will
it.
be on that map.
Why
Get on
not
it.
first? Why not Hawaii first?
Yes,
Now I have my goal
Yes.
for 2026.
yes, get on the map. But thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yes, we thank you guys
Well,
for
this
the
was
invite and for
excellent.
sharing.
Yeah, and Monique and Raul, we'll be definitely back in touch with you to kind of further this path that we're on. Any other questions from folks? There's
I'm out there
a lot
thinking,
to.
I'm going to shout out a thank you to our team because Danny, our Deputy Director, and Oscar, our AmeriCorps Connection Corps Fellow, they have been on it. I see, when I glance in the chat, I see that they've been responding. So thank you guys for being a part too.
Thank you.
And you opened it up to last questions, Bert. Go ahead.
I would love to, I'm going to stick my name real quick. What is the best way to stay in touch with you folks? Because I really do want to implement this program. But
Go back to that last slide, Raul. I'm sorry. I'm just telling him to display the last slide because it's on there.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a QR code also too that you can
Oh,
snap up.
perfect.
So if we go back to the last slide, we'll be able to share and to do. Can you go to that one? I'm sorry.
Yep,
Got
There
it.
you go. There you go. Can
Perfect. Mahalo.
yes, reach out, contact us, and get additional information. So
Yeah, and while others are thinking of
Yeah.
their question, mahalo again for your mana'o, your expertise and sharing your experiences with us. That's really the epitome of community, and even broader outside of our Hawaii community. We all need to stick
absolutely.
together, especially now, and make sure that we support and
Yes.
uplift one another. So again, mahalo. I appreciate all of that. That was really great. I'm
Yes.
I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what we like to inspire. Excitement at the community level. So, us regular folks can become educated and people can change and acquire new insight. I want to address one quick question. I don't remember the lady that was on the line, but as I was looking back, we never answered line of sight. What line of sight is?
Oh,
You
yes.
said, what is line of sight? Line of sight just has to do with antennas which are emitting or receiving the internet signals, being able to literally see one another. There has to be a direct opportunity for those devices to see. That's the difference between wireless. You just catch signals flying. But when we're doing point-to-point connections, meaning device to device, they have to be able to see one another. So that's also too why everything is way high up. That's sending the signals down because it's easy to receive them from high spaces that are not interrupted by obstructions, trees, mountains, houses.
So just to kind of put a little teaser out there, if anybody's interested in a train the trainer kind of session with, Monique and Raul, I'll definitely, be happy to help set that up. And then keep in mind that coming up in August and first week of September, there's the Hawaii Tech Week. And during Hawaii Tech Week, I don't think I've dropped this on Monique yet, but I'd like to have them actually be here training on one of the portable network kits. So that might be an opportunity to be a kind of a hands-on experience. This will be in September, so I'll keep people posted about that as it evolves.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So thanks, CTNY, Monique, Raul, Danny, Oscar. I do want to make a couple of quick announcements. I dropped the press announcement in the agenda about the Rural Health Transformation Program. I'm gonna recruit Christina Higa at some time, maybe next Broadband Hui, to talk a little bit about that project. It's a 189 million for 5 years, each year getting 189 million to do the rural health transformation. So it's a big project. It's federally funded, and I'll leave it to them to explain how that all came about. But that's a big project, and it has lots of implications for telehealth. And then I also dropped a link to DHHL's RFP. They made an announcement that they've awarded it to Ulu High Tech. Ulu High Tech. That's why Ulu was on my mind. So I'll have them come on sometime in the not too distant future to talk about what is that RFP all about, and how do communities benefit from the work that Ulu High Tech is going to do. So with that, I'm going to put up our closing slide here, and thank you all for being such great participants in the 260-second Broadband Hui. Our next Broadband Hui is going to be on the 21st of January. So stay tuned for that announcement. And in the meantime, I hope you all stay safe and all, of course, stay awesome. Aloha, everybody.
Hui ho.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That was excellent, Bert.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That was fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Mahalo
Thank you for the
muli.
opportunity. Yes. Take care. Look forward to hopefully seeing you guys maybe in September. That'll be super fantastic. So
Mhm.
we'll just look forward to checking